Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from SkiEssentials.com. Welcome to our 2026 ski test. Today we're talking about the Atomic Bent 110. Back again for another season. The Bent 110 has basically been the same ever since it was introduced, I want to say like 4 years ago now. We've had a few different top sheet graphics on it, but the performance of the ski remains the same. And for me, I look at the Bent 110 in a couple different ways. It is a really, really good choice if you want a freestyle-oriented kind of new school powder ski. If you want to land switch and powder, if you want to hit some backcountry jumps, if you want the cliche of if you want to take your tricks to the backcountry, really, really good for that. On the other hand, it's a really, really easy to ski powder ski. So you can take out the park performance completely, and it's still a really good choice for a lot of other skiers. You actually saw some of that reflected in our ski test feedback this year. Allie got on it, and Allie doesn't often skis this wide, and she was like, I was pleasantly surprised because I felt like I could do anything on it, and it was really easy to turn and really easy to control. And a ski this wide that can provide that kind of confidence when you're skiing softer snow, when your tips might be diving and other narrower skis. And if you can just forget about those things and just ski, and the ski helps you to do that, it's a really good choice. So yeah, definitely has that freestyle potential. That is undeniable, but it has an application outside of that as well. We also have seen this ski come along with some limitations. Generally, those limitations are found in skier size. We'll look at the flex pattern in a little bit, but that's the biggest kind of limitation or drawback that we've seen is it does have a softer flex pattern. So a heavier skier, like somebody Bob's size, they may find that they're pushing through the flex just a little bit too much. So something to consider if you're, say, over 200, 220 pounds, something like that. So all the bent skis are relatively simple in their construction. They all use a lightweight wood core. The 120 gets some extra additives, but the 90, the 100, and the 110 are all pretty simple in their ingredients. The one thing that is more interesting about bent skis is the inclusion of Horizon Tech. So that's Atomic's kind of beveling of the base of the ski and the tips and tails, increasing surface area, reducing pressure, just giving it a very surfy, smeary feel up there. And they've always been pretty lightweight. That's important to the bent skis performance in general. This is a 180 centimeter length. This is generally the length that I have fun skiing in the bent 110 here. And it's under 1,800 grams. So at 110 underfoot, 180 centimeter length, that's a pretty lightweight ski, so it's going to be really easy to pick it up and place it where you need it to be. If you want to make really quick movements on it, absolutely a ski that will allow for that and really actually kind of promote that kind of skiing. And then the flex pattern, like I was saying, is pretty important. It's not the softest ski in the world, but it is pretty soft, and that's where we see some skiers just don't really ever find that they're super balanced on it. You can kind of, it's not the type of ski that's going to prop you up. You have to be a balanced skier on your own. We've often used Candide as an example of a very balanced skier, and you could take Crispin Chetler and use him as an example of a very balanced skier. If you're nimble on your feet and intrinsically balanced, the ski doesn't need to hold you up. If you're used to kind of like letting your weight fall over the tips of your skis and having the ski hold you up, that's where we start to see some people not love the bent 110 here. And then I've always thought that the 110 is like a miniature version of the 120. And I mean that in that it shares a very, very similar shape. So the 90 and the 100, those skis don't use as much rocker, where the 110, it might not have quite as much as the 120, but it's pretty close. So tip rocker starts about where my hand is, and then almost the same amount of tail rocker. We got a lot of tail rocker back here, but there's still good camber underfoot. So that gives the ski a really nice, responsive, kind of bouncy, poppy flex pattern, which I think is awesome. Having this shape, the shorter camber profile, it does limit the amount of recommended mount points. So on the narrower bent skis, we see like a 10 centimeter range of mount points. On this ski, we see a 6 centimeter range. So you can't really take it and turn it into more of a directional ski as you can with the 90 and the 100. So just something to keep in mind. I still think the -3 line would be like enough of a traditional mount point for most people that it's not going to feel weird. But again, it's something to consider if you're thinking about picking up a bent 110. And this ski also, not to skip over this for shape, doesn't have like aggressive early taper, but it tapers a little bit more than the 90 and the 100 in just kind of how it finishes the profile of the ski. So yeah, really fun. I've always really enjoyed it. It's always really fun, like getting on this ski alongside Bob, because Bob's like, that doesn't work for me. And I'm like, this is perfect. And I think that's just, highlighting the subjective nature of ski performance. A ski is not going to feel the same for every skier out there. And that's why we do these tests. That's why we do these videos. And that's why we try and explain all these things. So yeah, it's just every time I ski it, I have a blast. And I can manipulate it. I can do butters and like nose butters and tail butters. Just have a lot of fun. Pop, switch in soft snow and ski around through powder and while going switch. And yeah, there's just a lot of fun things you can do on it. And then I thought Allie's feedback in our test was awesome, because she's the type of skier that she's not particularly aggressive. You don't see her like doing 180s or hitting jumps or making big slashy turns and stuff like that. She's a very strong technical skier, and she has kind of more traditional technique. And just to see somebody like that get on it and have a lot of fun, it just kind of like is a reminder and a refresher to me that, yeah, pick this up I think she skied it in a 172, like pick it up in a 172 and it could be just like a dream of a powder ski and open up these possibilities that you've never known before. And then we also had my friend Eli on it in the ski test, who is really, really strong skier. He's much younger than me. I'm starting to become jealous of these younger free skiers. And he got on it and loved it. He was like, I felt right at home. I could do anything I wanted to on it. And for it to be able to get a lot of praise from a skier like Allie, and then also get high praise from a skier like Eli, is quite an accomplishment. And you will find people that don't love it, like the Bobs of the world, and that's okay, because there's other skis for him too. Bob is much more of like a Maverick 105 CTI skier rather than a Bent 110 skier. So that's it. That's the Bent 110 from Atomic. Let us know if you have any questions about it, and we will see you out there on the slopes.